Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and you have tuned into the Rebel News live stream on this, a Thursday, April 22nd, 2021. I'm David Menzies, and as always, I am joined on Tuesdays and Thursdays by my lovely co-host. She is the 5-coupon ride. She is the she-devil with a sword. She is the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta, Sheila Gunn Reid. How are you doing, Sheila, and how are you celebrating Earth Day today?
Did you call me a 5-ticket ride?
5-coupon ride. Back in the day on the carnival, that was the top. That's what you had to fork over for the roller coaster. There were 2 coupon rides, 3 coupon rides, but the real players, they were going on the 5 coupon rides. Those were the true thrill rides. So it is indeed a compliment, Sheila.
I have been called a roller coaster before, so that's fair.
Actually, can you ride a roller coaster? I saw how you reacted in Israel to a winding mountain road. You curled up in the fetal position. Do roller coasters have that effect on you too, Sheila?
Yeah, I can't go on roller coasters. I can't go on things that spin. I can't do any of that. But like quadding, ATVing, dirt biking, that's fine because I think it's just open space and I'm in control. But it's the spinning and the it just makes me sick even thinking about it. David, it's good to see you. Is there a light out in the studio, guys? Do you know?
Yes, there is, as a matter of fact. And here I was thinking that Efren, Triple E, the excellence of execution epitome, I did that in reverse, I think.
Yes.
Was making some... Is that a little better?
There you are. There you are. You're like an angel now.
I'm leaning more towards Frankenstein, actually. But
well, whatever.
The monster, not the doctor, by the way. Yeah, so Sheila, here we are. As I said, it is Earth Day. I don't know if you celebrate that out in your parts.
Sure, yeah. I love the Earth. You poke holes in it and energy comes out of it. The Earth is amazing. I love the Earth.
You know, I'll tell you there, I have nothing but disdain for Earth Hour, you know, the spin-off of Earth Day where we're supposed to party like it's 1699. But I will say this, the one thing I like about Earth Day, because I've always been an early adopter of hating pollution. I just don't understand when someone is done with a package, they just throw it on the ground. But the one thing I do like about Earth Day is that when you round up people in your community and you go out with gloves, sticks, garbage bags, because after these snowbanks have melted, wow, the amount of trash and other even more nefarious stuff that comes into view is actually quite grotesque. And what really bothers me, Sheila, is that it didn't get there by itself. Somebody tossed something out a window or dropped it while they're walking. I don't understand that kind of, is it entitlement? Is it chutzpah? Is it just rudeness? So anyways, if you are out today and you see some litter, pick it up and let's all try to make the community look a little nicer, eh?
Yeah, I get the feeling that most of that garbage is probably tossed out of the window of an electric car. I just, you know.
Well,
anyway,
you have absolutely no evidence to base that on. And if that was a shot at me, mine is a plug-in hybrid. Anyway, I think this is the part where you tell people what it is we're ostensibly trying to do today.
That reminds me of something I wanted to talk about, and I didn't tell Efron, the super producer, to bring it up, but did you see Frank Stronach's car? That little electric car? It's supposed to be the future of Canadian driving. I don't know how it would handle on snow, ice, wind, gravel, definitely. I live on a gravel road. It looks like one of those little tykes cars. You know, those like orange and yellow cars? And grown human beings are supposed to drive it without being completely ashamed. Yeah, there it is.
Wow.
How does that thing handle on gravel? Yeah, look at that little, it's a little tykes car, right?
But you know what, Sheila, in fairness, here's the deal. I remember when I was in high school and I pined and pined to have any kind of car. So much so I sold my comic book collection to buy a used 74
This story
Camaro.
again.
Yeah, well, it pains me because that comic book collection can now get a Ferrari off the lot. Anyway, It beats walking. That's what I'm saying. You've got power, you've got a steering wheel, you're enclosed in an environment, so it's not like a motorcycle where you're at mercy to the elements. So you know what? Better than nothing. That's what I would say about that.
I just think it's interesting that people in the developing world, like India, China, they're driving three-wheeled catastrophes like that, like these converted scooters. And they've put these like fake car bodies on these converted scooters to try to pretend like they have the same luxuries that we have in the Western world. And it feels a little bit like a mockery for us to say, you know what, we want to do what you're doing. It just seems strange that one is moving in one direction because that's actually, you know, like human achievement marches that way, and the Western world is going in the opposite direction. We're moving in the Borat direction.
You know what? That's an incredible observation, and you're right. I mean, once upon a time in China, it was these three-wheeled contraptions, even rickshaws, if you will.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, I'll tell you this much. The only reason General Motors kept the Buick brand alive is that is considered a sought-after brand in China for some inexplicable reason.
Yeah.
So they're going more towards where we've been. And you're right, and we're kind of, dialing it back. But hey, at the end of the day, you have freedom of choice if you have the money, right, Sheila? You can buy one of those little...
Sure. Waste your money on an electric car like David Menzies. Knock yourself out. It's not my money.
And folks, by the way, just to be clear again why I bought that contraption, it's so I can drive in the HOV lane as a solo occupant, because I'm very antisocial in my commuting. I don't want people in my car. And that shaves about a half hour getting down here to head office from Richmond's Hill. That's the reason. It's all about time management. It has nothing to do with bowing to the gods of David Suzuki, Al Gore, and little Greta Thunberg. So there.
You don't have to be in the office most days till like 11 a.m. So I don't know what your problem is. Anyways, we should tell everybody what we're doing here.
Yes.
This is the Rebel News Daily live stream. It used to just be on Friday, and it used to just be on YouTube. And now it's not. It's every single work day, so Monday through Friday, because we think there's more news than ever, and the mainstream media is certainly not covering the stories that we are. And some of these stories are best dealt with, sometimes casually, just as you're talking about them, like Frank Stronach's Little Tykes car. By the way, I wonder what sort of subsidies he got to develop that. And secondarily, it was a chance for us to interact with each other, talk about the news of the day, our viewers to interact with us as well, and support the work that we do completely willingly through something called a super chat. But then one day we woke up and YouTube said, nope, sorry, we've completely demonetized you guys. We're not going to tell you why. And that's basically what happened to us. So now we've moved our live stream over to Rumble. And I think right now, correct me if I'm wrong, I can't hear you, Efron, so you'll correct me through David. We're streaming on Odyssey also, and we're also streaming on the Rebel News Clips channel. Now, we used to be able to take super chats on those channels, or on at least the YouTube channel. And the thing about a super chat is YouTube takes 30%. So think about the spite of that they were so desperate to cut us off from the support of our viewers that they were willing to deny themselves 30% of the $400,000 a year that we make on YouTube. Anyways, that's what they did. So we figured out a workaround, because we are nothing if not ingenious here at Rebel News. We've got a link. If you go on Rumble and look in the description, you'll see I don't see it now. Anyways. Oh yeah, I see it there. If you go in the description of our Rumble video, there is a link. Please click on that. It'll take you off site. Perfect. Thank you, Efron. Over to Streamlabs. On Streamlabs, just put in your name. It has to be all one word. Put in whatever name you like. It's up to you. But as long as it's all one word, you can throw some money in there. You can leave what we're calling a Rebel chat, and we'll read it out on air. If it's a question, a query, a comment, story idea, constructive criticism. Maybe you don't like David's hats, whatever. Throw it in a Rebel chat. We'll read it out on air. And it's a way for us to get around the censorship and demonetization of YouTube. And it still gives you the ability to interact with each other and have your say. Because I think what we do here on the Rebel News live streams is like a bit of a democratization of the news. Sure, David and I are hosting, but you guys are sort of in charge, you, the viewers, through the form of a super chat.
Yeah, and if you don't like my hat, a couple of weeks ago when we were in Montreal, right across the street from the famous Schwartz's Deli, there's an incredible hat shop that Mocha and I discovered. And I went in there to buy some new hats to A, support local business, and B, basically to enjoy my freedom after being released from a Montreal jail cell. So I felt good about myself. I went on a little hat buying spree. So I'll debut the new ensemble when the weather gets a little nicer. But yeah, and Sheila, you know, it's funny. You're absolutely right about YouTube and the word spite. But let's face facts. 30% of $400,000 in Silicon Valley money is kind of like you and I finding a nickel in the couch. It doesn't even mean anything to them.
Right.
So, but even so, it's clearly not about the money. It's about the content. If our viewers don't know why the reason behind that ludicrous strike, it was Ezra doing a monologue on how Silicon Valley tech giants are fostering censorship. And lo and behold, we got a strike for that. And the way they tried to spin it, this is what really bugs me, is that it falls afoul of their guidelines because this somehow is tied to a suggestion there were some shenanigans in the U.S. election when that wasn't even mentioned, Sheila, you know. But that's how they tried to sell it for that 1 week suspension. And, you know, but anyways, life moves on. Maybe they did it as a favor. Maybe finding these new portals, we have more freedom. We pay less commission on the super chats, as you said. So perhaps we need that little kick in the rump to get a little more proactive, because we know if you are a right of center commentator, that doesn't fly with the Silicon Valley tech giants, and they're coming for all of us.
Yeah, that's one thing about us being forced to use Streamlabs. It actually pays off a lot better for us if we utilize it properly and if people maintain their generosity, which clearly they are, because I can see on my screen the Rebel chats are already rolling in. We get 100% of that money minus the credit card processing fees, whereas we had to give YouTube 30% of every super chat. So it works better for our viewer because they get more characters than they did before. And it works better for us because we get more of that money. So, you know, sometimes our censors should be careful what they wish for, because we are resilient. We're early adopters of good ideas. The existence of Rebel News is an innovation in and of itself. We exist in response to the censorship of the broadcast bureaucracy here in Canada. That's why we went to the internet and YouTube as opposed to regular broadcast channels. So everything we do, we innovate, we move forward. When challenges are presented, we are able to get around them. But the only way we're able to get around them is through the support and loyalty and generosity of the people that are watching us right now.
You know, I think our theme song should be that Elton John tune from the 80s, Sheila, I'm Still Standing, regardless of all that we've been through. But
was that the 80s? It could be sooner.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, Sheila, so much to talk about. And as the saying goes, ladies first. What do you want to start off with?
I think we should get to Lincoln Jay's really great video from the skate park.
Yes.
Lincoln came to us as an editor, as a videographer. And because there's so much news, our behind the camera people are jumping out in front of the camera. So our team in the office, they work so hard because not only is it a big job to make people like me and David seem smart and look good on camera, huge job. But after they do that all week long or all day long, they get out from behind the camera and away from their computers and get in front of the camera, and they're out there documenting the news in Toronto, in Montreal. And that's sort of been Lincoln's career trajectory. I mean, he has been out here even in Alberta with me at Grace Life Church, and he did some work in Calgary too, or Medicine Hat, I think it was.
Yeah.
Anywho. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, when it comes to that team behind the scenes, Sheila, as you've said before, we don't deserve them. They're so hardworking. They're so good at what they do. And and now they're taking on extra duties. As the mainstream media more and more works from behind some home office desk and doesn't get into the field because they don't want to catch cooties or something.
Yeah, they're doing less with more of your money than ever before. I mean, even the guy who helps write our emails and manage that sort of stuff, he's out there as a videographer on the weekends. Alex works really hard. But anyways, getting back to Lincoln's video. I think we've all seen by now, or you should. Your internet has to be down and you have to be living in a cave. If you have not seen the images of the OPP officer shoving that 12-year-old kid. Now, I've got a 12-year-old daughter, and I would be off the rev limiter if that was my kid. I would be murderous. But anyway.
Oh, yeah, you'd be in jail, Sheila.
Oh, for sure I would. I would be in jail. I would be in jail. You and I would start a jailhouse band. But we thought, Lincoln, head out to the skate park and see what's up.
Yep.
And he got the full story. So more than just that little video that was seen around the world. We sent Lincoln to the skate park, and Lincoln's a young guy. So he'd be more effective than somebody like me going there, because you'd think that I would be there to scold all the kids and tell them to quit skateboarding and do something better with their time. But Lincoln went there, and he got the full story. So Efron, let's roll some of that.
We have implemented the strictest measures in all of North America.
We have made the deliberate decision to temporarily enhance police officers' authority for the duration of the stay-at-home order. Moving forward, police will have the authority to require any individual who is not in a place of residence to, first, provide their purpose for not being at home and provide their home address.
The cops came, told us to put our masks up. We did that. A few people didn't because they didn't have a mask.
They didn't have a mask. Cops started pushing up on him, asking for ID. He's a 12-year-old kid, He wouldn't have ID.
No, there's no excuse whatsoever. No, I think the officers should be fired from the force and removed immediately. Lincoln J for Rebel News here in Gravenhurst, Ontario. Now, the background behind me may look a little familiar to some of you. There's a viral video going around right now of a OPP officer here in Gravenhurst shoving a 12-year-old kid to the ground. Check it out.
Touch me! What are you doing, bud? He's 12 years old.
Come here. Well, he's failing to identify. If anybody else does, you guys, this behavior is unacceptable.
So it seems that what escalated this altercation was the fact that the kid in the video did not give his ID to the officer.
He's 12 years old.
Come here. Well, he's failing to identify.
So yes, a 12-year-old boy does not give his identification to a police officer, so the police officer responds by shoving the kid to the ground. When I was 12 years old, doing the exact same thing that this kid was doing behind me, I did not have ID. I did not have a phone. The only thing I had was a couple of dollars from my parents to get a Gatorade and a bag of chips. This is just flat out bullying. We're going to try and talk to some people who may have witnessed the altercation and get some general opinions on the matter. In your own words, what happened?
Okay, so the cops came, told us to put our masks up. We did that. A few people didn't because they didn't have a mask. And then the second time they drove past, they pulled up here. And like, so I went to the back because, yeah. And then so was saying like we have the right to breathe and everything. And then they were asking for his ID. And he's saying I don't have an ID because, you know, he's 12. And then they go down there, and then they start asking for his parents' number, and then they grab his scooter and like shove him really aggressively.
It was like he was just coming around. They didn't have a mask. Cops started like pushing up on him, asking for ID. He's a 12-year-old kid, you know. He wouldn't have ID. Right there, as he's trying to leave because he knows that he can't be there without a mask, stuff like that. As he's leaving, the cop grabs his scooter, pulls it, and then pushes him, falls back, hits his head. You've all seen the video, like pretty brutal stuff. Definitely an excessive amount of force.
Yeah. So did they end up taking him away in the cruiser, or did he stayed on the property?
They didn't. So he came back there, called his mom with us, and so his mom came. And then he pretty much headed home.
To the OPP, to the police force around here, do they give you guys a tough time with social distancing, with mask wearing, or is this kind of a one-time incident?
Honestly, I don't really think I've heard of it, like them enforcing it too much before. It seems like something like once in a blue moon sort of thing.
This is a one-time incident with the bad cop.
The skate park behind us, it's something for you guys to do. It's something to get you guys outside, you know, not in front of the Xbox, computer, whatever. So how does it make you guys feel that places like this are shut down right now?
It's not great because our parents do want us getting outside, you know, getting exercise. It's a tough time. We gotta be exercising a lot, keep morale up. And it's tough with this closed because, yeah, you're right, a lot of people come around here to like try to get out, stuff like that, and with it closed, it's definitely not the greatest.
So we have our like bikes and scooters, and we learn new tricks to come here, like.
Sheila, this just in: that OPP officer that we saw in the video has been offered the position of sergeant with the Montreal Police Service. I mean, holy moly. I gotta say, Sheila, you know what the saddest thing is about that video? And great job by Lincoln, by the way. Talk about being at the right place at the right time. He wasn't getting any success from streeters at the nearby Kentucky Fried Chicken outlet. So he went back to the park, and lo and behold, in the Department of Cosmic Coincidence, there were the kids who were the witnesses to the so right place at the right time. Fantastic for that. But what puts the exclamation on the sadness of this video is that, as you saw, folks, the witnesses asked for, and we acquiesced, to have their faces blurred because they feared retaliation. Now, keep in mind, this isn't retaliation from gangbangers. This isn't retaliation from a biker gang. This is retaliation from OPP police. Remember once upon a time, Sheila, you would say to your kids, if you ever see anybody giving you any kind of hassle or aggravation, you're fearing for your safety, run to the cops. We've gone from that to, could you please blur my face because I don't want those cops to come after me or my family. That is horrible.
I thought we did that because we don't normally put kids in our videos.
No, well, that is true, but they did request that, and it was for fear of getting retaliation. That's what Lincoln had told me. So,
sure.
Yeah, once upon a time, you ran from the police. Now you ran to the police. Now you conceal your identity because you don't want the police to make life miserable for you. And really, Sheila, again, it goes back to this nonsense of shutting down playgrounds when. That was something that was rescinded within something like 12 hours, I believe, going back to last Friday when Ford made the announcement at 12:01, 1 minute after midnight Saturday, it kicked in. And basically there was a revolt. People still went to the playgrounds. Numerous police services, but not the OPP, mind you, said, hey, Dougie, we're not enforcing this crap. We're not going to shake down people for their papers just because they're trying to live their lives in a miserable time. And that was rescinded. And we talked about this before. How does closing down this little skate park in Gravenhurst somehow stop the wildfire of deaths due to the Wuhan virus in long-term care facilities? How does it affect the Canada Post sorting facility where there was a big outbreak in Mississauga? How does it affect the Amazon Brampton plant where there was also another big outbreak? Sheila, we're always told it's the science that is behind these political decisions. Where's the science?
Have they ever looked at kids skateboarding at the skate park? Like, my son used to skateboard. I think he still does. And I find it annoying because I think, isn't there something that you could be doing with your time? Like, even when I work out, I think, okay, well, I try to do things that make me better at stuff in the real world, i.e. I run because I need to run away from bears, liberals, and male feminists, right? But, they're outside, they're doing stuff, all things considered. It's something that you have to do apart from each other. Yeah. Otherwise, you have collisions and people get hurt. It's like when they close the gun ranges or the archery lanes. And it's like, have you ever actually seen people do archery? Because like the other people have to stand like way over there and nobody's in front of you and nobody's around you. None of it makes any sense. And again, how is it that these little kids have more common sense than the grown officers involved here? How does a police officer not know that a little kid doesn't have ID? He's not even old enough to have high school or junior high ID. I've got a 12-year-old and she still pretends that she has IDs. So when I travel for work and when I have to take the hotel key cards, I bring them home for her and she puts them in her little wallet and she plays like going to town, like this is my credit card, this is my ID. She make believes. I don't know what cop doesn't know that a little kid doesn't have government issued ID on them, or that they would know that they need to hand it over to a cop.
But beyond that, Sheila, I want to know what was going through that cop's head when he thought that was an appropriate way to deal with the situation. I mean, that cop is practically twice the size and more than twice the weight of that kid. And to physically shove him off. He's not under arrest, so there shouldn't be any kind of handsy activity in the first place. Yeah. To throw that kid off his skateboard like that, was this cop having a really bad day? Or
I don't care.
Or does he think this is good policing, to act like a bully? I mean, look at that. That's why you would call the police if somebody who wasn't wearing a uniform came up to you in a park and threw you off your skateboard. We have to follow how they're going to discipline this officer, if there's going to be any discipline, because you never know these days. And also, I'm telling you, if I'm the parents, that is a civil suit for sure. That and that, what a lawyer's paradise. You've got the video evidence right there. And right now, as I understand it, this officer, I don't think he's been identified yet. Not even a suspension, Sheila. He is doing desk duty, I guess that way can only threaten or bully his fellow officers, so he's at least being kept out of the Gravenhurst skateboard park.
They're closing the skate parks because they don't want kids too close to each other because social distancing or whatever. Yeah. But then you have these grown adults who are out in the public dealing with people all day long, so they're exposed to the public. Whatever you think about that, but that's what they tell us. That's how you contract the coronavirus. And then he physically puts his hands on a kid for his health? I mean, what gives here? I just don't understand any of it. And I hope these parents sue the police force into next week.
I agree.
I mean, just the kid it wasn't just a shove like the kid lost his balance. That kid went flying. And, the other cop, he just saunters over. Like, he doesn't even think, oh, there's a problem here that I need to get on the scene. He just moseys up. It just strolls up, no big deal. Watch the other cop come in frame. Is this something they normally do? Just shoving kids?
Well, it's a good question, Sheila, and I don't know anything about the policing culture with the OPP at the Gravenhurst detachment, and that's what it comes down to. I think, Sheila, you have police forces out there that are fantastic. They have good leadership.
Look at just moseying up.
Yeah.
Your partner just tossed a kid. Don't run up.
Well, you know what? There's also the element of that thin blue line where, you're not supposed to rat out your partner or, being a bad witness to misbehavior of a cop. And that's part of, I think, policing culture all over. But I thought that was egregious. And if I could interview that police officer, I'd like to say, what did you, even with an emergency act, even with a quarantine act, how did you think this was good policing to take a 12-year-old and throw him off his skateboard? What if he was injured? What if he broke his wrist or something like that?
Yeah.
It wasn't even like the kid had shoplifted something and he was taking him down to rest.
He was just playing.
But I'm sure we have some interesting super chats about this.
Oh, I'm sure we do. This whole pandemic, though, we're looking at one cop here, but we've seen dozens of cops behave like this across the country during the pandemic. But it's not just cops. We see that it's cops because they're the ones with the power to enforce these COVID regulations. But it is not just cops. It is everyday, ordinary jerks in the grocery store and Karens and tattletales and snitches. This pandemic has emboldened the worst instincts in the most ordinary people.
100%,
those things, Sheila, that if your face was uncovered, you would never think to do because people could look you in the eye as you were doing them. But now your face is covered, you're anonymous, and you're the biggest jerk in the world with no sense of decency or humanity. It's not just cops, it's everybody. It is revealing something about society that was just idling under the surface, but these masks have made it a lot easier to be the worst kind of human being.
100%, Sheila.
Okie doke, we should get to some of these Rebel chats because people have certainly been generous. Okay. Marilyn donated glasses. Put some glasses on. I make fun of David's age, but I have the age-related eye degeneration. Marilyn donated $5. Would love to hear David's thoughts on Doug Ford's apology this morning.
Oh, well, just in time for the Academy Awards, eh? I mean, that was something else. You know what?
Do you know what? Should we, Efron, do you think maybe we could just roll some of that? Let's roll it, and then we'll get to the Rebel chats, because this first Rebel chat brought it up, and that was something else. I mean, he was full Meryl Streep there, fake crying, and it's just whatever. What a piece of work.
Their stories, the stories that could make you cry, families that haven't been able to hold hand. Hold on, folks. I apologize. Hold the hand of their mom or dad as they passed away because of COVID-19 restrictions in hospitals. Healthcare workers who've been pushed to the absolute limit, working to save lives. I want you to know that I hear you. I understand you're going through. I understand your frustration. I'm sorry we acted too quick on the measures. All I hear is limit mobility, and we move too quick. But anytime, if I make a mistake, I correct it immediately, which we did on the weekend. And again, when it comes to playgrounds, the people were telling me limit the mobility, and we corrected that. I've never locked down the parks. The parks have always been open. Each public health unit, they if they want to lock down the parks, or if they want to, close things, that's their choice. But I think we've done the right decision. And again, the reason
Sheila, as much as he's trying to portray the kinder, gentler, the softer side of Sears, Doug Ford, how about actions instead of words? How about being less lockdown Doug Ford and more open the economy, Governor Ron DeSantis? He says he's moved to tears by the stories he's heard. No doubt those stories are
of the healthcare workers. Have you talked to the people you've ticketed?
Yeah.
Doug Ford, whose lives, these people are half a paycheck away from insolvency.
That's right.
And you come along and hammer them with a lockdown ticket?
And
you're telling me you've heard sob stories from nurses? At least those nurses are employed. Sure, they're working hard, but at least they're employed. What about the unemployed people who are sick and tired of your unscientific, totalitarian lockdown, and they don't know what else to do except protest it, and then you're hammering them with tickets that they can't afford? Have you talked to a single one of them? Because his $880 tickets, that's enough to ruin their lives.
Yeah, and let's not forget the people like Claudia of Claudia's Closet and Derek Noble of Noble Toys in Little Bolton, Ontario, having the Attorney General send out letters threatening these little retailers with imprisonment. The buck stops at Premier Doug Ford, Sheila. So, forgive me if I'm not buying into these crocodile tears. And let's not forget, Doug Ford, both as the Premier of the province, has never missed a paycheck, and Doug Ford as the owner of Deco Labels, who I suggest might be in a conflict of interest, given that they allegedly produce all that signage and whatnot that retailers have to put in their stores. I would assume business has never been better there, so it doesn't affect him that much. If he had said, you know what, I'm not going to be leashed by the directors of public health anymore, the buck stops here, the economy is going to be reopened, because clearly it hasn't worked all these 14 months now, then I would have more respect. But like I said, these are so many crocodile tears as far as I'm concerned, Sheila, because there's no action backing up the apology.
Yeah, he should just go home and eat his feelings and have another cherry cheesecake because, he's the one guy with the power to do something. Geez. Yeah, there's that. The one guy, we're all in this together. He's the one guy with the power to do something, to make this different. And all he's doing is crying about how hard these decisions are on him to make. What about the people who have to live with the consequences?
And the audacity for him to be wearing a T-shirt in that Cooking with Doug Ford video that says we're all in this together. I'm at my breaking point the next time I hear some cushy politician or bureaucrat or chief medical health officer say that, Sheila. It's obscene.
All that prepackaged junk too he's making. Like, if you're gonna make a cheesecake, don't buy the Dream Whip powder and the canned cherries. Like, at least put a little bit of work into it. What else are you doing? Doug Ford's got you locked down. Work a little harder on your food.
Sheila, that's an excellent observation. As a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, we're trying
Look
to...
Look at all the garbage from all the prepackaging.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, I had somebody who is a casual baker reach out to me, and she said she cooked this cherry cheesecake that he's demonstrating, and it was crap. It was horrible. And so we're going to have her cook it again, bake it again, and maybe do a taste test with Doug Ford's cherry cheesecake and a competently baked cherry cheesecake. So, I mean, the point I'm getting at, even with that bloody cherry cheesecake, even that's a fail.
I should try to replicate that recipe and record myself. However, I am a pretty decent baker and I make a lot of things from scratch. So that's why when I see all that prepackaging, I'm annoyed because I try not to use packaged things just because why? I find that prepackaged things are more expensive and I'm cheap and I grew up poor. So that sort of has stayed with me my whole life. Wow. But I'm worried that I would make it and it would turn out okay. And then I couldn't be critical of Doug Ford because my skills would overcompensate for the garbage recipe.
Indeed.
You know?
Well, carry on
Anyway.
with those super chats, my friend.
Yes, because we only have 19 minutes left in the show. Nathaniel donated $5.70. Society is being compartmentalized just like in high-level military operations to prevent the Liberals' foothold from imploding using a self-feeding narrative. What's going on here is nothing short of a tactical overturn of the entire system. Pink Phoenix Nails. Oh, hi, Catherine. I haven't seen you in a while. Good morning, friends. Hi, Catherine. Our PM, the human BM. Again, I just read the names. I don't choose them. $2.20. I see that Aaron O'Toole said that justice was served in the U.S. this week. God help any Canadian that supports that disgrace to Canadian Conservatives. As for the USA, they glorify criminals and condemn those who enforce the Constitution. You know, with regard to the George Floyd thing and Aaron O'Toole weighing in, whatever side of the argument that you fall down on the whole George Floyd thing, could Aaron O'Toole muster up something about the injustice happening to Canadians? Because last time I thought he wanted to be the Prime Minister of Canadians. And so if he's concerned about civil rights, as a lot of people who think that justice was served in the George Floyd verdict, would you maybe, just maybe, have something to say about the civil liberties of Canadians that are being absolutely tromped on by these lockdowns? But I haven't heard anything.
No, because Aaron O'Toole, or Aaron O'Shear as I like to call him, is all about three things, I think, now. It's wokeness, it's virtue signaling, and cancel culture. The very things he said he wasn't last summer when he was running. But a funny thing happened on the way to the leadership of the official opposition, didn't it, Sheila? And I think it's probably a war room with woke millennials that are advising him, and he doesn't have the testicular fortitude to stand up and say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go after conservative issues. And starting, like you said, I'm going to criticize this lockdown, which he doesn't. This man is now scared of his own shadow. It's appalling.
Well, just even let's list some of the more recent civil rights issues that are happening in Canada. I'm not sure if he knows, but there was a pastor locked up for 35 days, and then his church has been basically seized by the state. That's happening here in Alberta. Can I get you to weigh in on that, Aaron O'Toole? I've got Fight the Fines clients that were held in solitary confinement in New Brunswick, a woman, for several days. We've got another woman who also from New Brunswick, similar thing. I mean, it never ends. People are getting tickets for trying to go to church. And, you know, we can't get a conservative to even open their mouths about these conservative issues. Even the ones who signed the anti-lockdown letter in Alberta, they've been largely silent on the individual issues. They're talking about the economy, which is fine. But what about human rights? You know, the only one was Dan Williams, who spoke up about what happened to Grace Life. That was it.
And that's a great point you make about Grace Life and the silence from Aaron O'Shear. But then again, this is happening in your province of Alberta, where you have a premier who used to be an MP that was behind the bill for religious freedom. So the rot I see in the conservative movement right now, Sheila, it's all over. It's coast to coast.
Yeah, it's constant. I think they think they're going to make friends by making their friends into enemies, and it never works that way.
It never works.
Trini Canadian donated $125. Project Veritas website has a donation box where donors can check a box if they want to cover the processing fee. We will receive 100% of your donation. Maybe that's something you folks can look into to get 100%. That's interesting. Let's put that. I'm just going to write that down so I bring it up in the afternoon meeting. Alia donated $20. Says, did you watch Ford's unfeeling apology giving police the right to use more brutality and a cop assaulted a 12-year-old boy in a park? Yeah, I totally didn't mean it. Yeah, he's upset again because nurses are overworked. I'm pretty sure I just saw a cop throw a 12-year-old. because of the extra powers that Doug Ford gave these people. Anyway, SV Gang Studios donated $4. Nice. The Rebels back on YouTube. I watch you guys each morning on my TV, my Canadian news channel. Since you've been off, I've gone crazy and started eating healthy and working out. Sorry. And won't stop the crazy new habits, but great to have y'all's back on my TV. Do you know what I do? I'll give you a little advice. To avoid the sedentary lifestyle that the lockdown can give you. And I don't have a sedentary lifestyle. I'm a farmer. I'm busy all the time and I have kids.
It's true.
But I do limit my TV watching or my binge TV watching to when I'm on the treadmill. So I made a rule for myself that I cannot turn on a streaming service unless I'm on the treadmill. And so if there's something I really want to watch, or if there's like a series I want to get through, well, then I watch 1 episode or 2 episodes every night when I'm running so that I don't turn into Doug Ford. Anyways. Annalisa S. donated $5. Okay, I'm officially a bad person. I started laughing at Ford crying. I laughed because it was so fake. Yeah. So fake. JDR donated $3. Love your response to Ford's speech, Sheila and David. You guys let him have it with both barrels. You know, his crying reminded me of AOC's crying in front of the that fence. You know, like when she's wearing like her white outfit and she's like crying. That's what it reminded me of. It was so fake. Yeah. Just fake.
And it's not that a guy can't cry. It's you got to know
I don't
what
want
to
see
cry
it, though.
about.
I don't want to see it.
Yeah. Except if it's something like, you know, the Leafs winning the Stanley Cup or something like that. Then, okay, cry.
I still don't want to see it. Cry alone in your electric car. I don't want to see it.
You know what? That's a very good point, Sheila. And I think you speak for most of womankind. The fact that we've been led to believe that, you know, it's okay for guys to cry, you know, and sob and, you know, and women like that. But the women in my circle, they share your opinion. I don't want to see the guy doing that, you know, and I wonder, you know, maybe some of our super chatters, they could weigh in on this. Is it okay for a guy to cry? Is it getting in touch with his emotional side, or is it a weakness?
I don't know. I like men to be the Rock, and I just there's something so unattractive about someone who is out of control of their emotions and just like out of control of their faculties. And when guys start blubbering, that's where I'm at. I'm just thinking, nope. Not for me.
I think you're right, Sheila, and I think those women that say we don't mind it when a guy cries, deep down, when it happens, they kind of mind it.
Yeah, it seems okay on paper.
Yeah.
A sensitive guy, but then when you see it and you're like, nope. Nope, that's my libido drying up and blowing away. Let's keep going. JDR donated $3. Oh, I read that one. God is with us donated 801. Rebel News are the true Canadian heroes. Incredible observations going around of the full skin face mask that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are wearing as they are interviewed by reporters. Makes us question who are really behind those masks. Can we talk about how they're fully vaccinated and still wearing masks? What's that about?
Yeah. No, you're right, Sheila. Months ago, the New York Times front page story about even if 100% of the American population gets vaccinated, here's why it's still a good idea to wear masks and practice social distancing. Then what was the point of the vaccinations, I say? Yeah.
If I have to wear a mask forever
and
stay away from everybody I ever knew or loved, why get the vaccine then? What's the point? Let's keep going. Pink Phoenix Nails. Hi, Catherine. Donated $2. I Rebel Chat every David and Gunn show. I think a few have been missed. Oh, I'm going to talk to Justin. I don't complain because I support you even if you don't read any. I always support everything you are all doing and always know I'm always your cheerleader. Catherine, if your super chats get missed, you know how to get a hold of me. Just send them to me on my phone and I'll read them on air in case they get missed. You know what to do.
Thank you,
Wretched Wretch donated $4. I missed you guys for a few days and I'm behind on the news. Thanks for reporting and fighting for truth. What are we going to do about immunopassports? Okay, great. We want to bring that up. No, I'm not in this together. We're all in this together. No, not a part of this agenda. Okay. Efron, can we bring up our story on the immunopassports? Because while Rebel News is fighting for freedom and fighting for small businesses and helping fight fines through fightthefines.com and telling the stories of small business owners willing to reopen at iwillopen.com, the news also marches on in the background too. And we still are doing our access to information work that used to be nearly exclusive my job. But we have some really great writers in the office, Margaret and Dave and the team. They are still, as these stories are coming back to us, as we get these document packages back, we're still writing them up online. So that's another great reason to access your Rebel News content through the website, because you will not see these stories on Rumble or YouTube or Odyssey because they're written stories, because we're too busy doing all that other news that we can't make a video about this, but we still think it's news and we still think you need to know. Yep. So the headline is, Freeland asked officials for info on immunopassports as early as April 2020. So just right after the Liberals decided it wasn't racist to close the border, they were already looking into these immunopassport things. So Trudeau's Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, requested information on immunopassports as early as April 2020, according to an email sent last year. An email dated April 22, 2020. That's today. That's literally exactly a year ago today. Yep. From Teo Pham of the Privy Council office, so those are Justin Trudeau's chief bureaucrats, they work basically for him, was directed to Freeland and her staffers, Adam Grech and Bud Sambasivan, that contains responses to several questions. One of those responses was to Freeland's question on serological testing, so blood testing, on a basis for immunopassports. How many countries have used sero testing for immunopassports? So this is like literally 3 weeks after they closed the border. They're already thinking about ways to tie your ability to travel to your COVID test and your COVID, I guess, vaccination status. Pham replied in part, consideration of, quote, immunopassports or other similar approaches where individuals who have antibodies and are assumed to be immune to further infection could be cleared to start to return to work, etc. So back a year ago, they were already considering the only way you're going to be able to travel and return to work is if you would be cleared and then issued a document, an immunopassport, whether that's a digital document or a piece of paper. That's your permission to go on with your life, and you'd have to submit to the testing. Although many jurisdictions have raised the idea, efforts to introduce immunopassports have been hindered by limitations with the sero tests, such as inaccuracy of testing have hindered the process or progress, for example, in the UK. So it's the testing limitations that are causing the problems, not the fact that this is against your rights as a Canadian. That was the government's concern. Not that this limits your Section 6 charter rights to be able to travel, but or for you to be able to go to work, but rather that they just didn't have the kind of testing they needed to implement these things. That was the government's concern. That's frightening.
I'm not surprised, Sheila. We've speculated before that, going forward, there won't be mandatory vaccinations. No, you won't be thrown into one of those COVID hotels. But if you want to travel, if you want to go to a sports match, if you want to go to a rock
They use
concert,
the word work. They use the word work here.
Yeah.
Like, this is what they wanted to do if you wanted to go to work.
Exactly.
That's the word the government used here.
So
that's terrifying.
It's a false choice. It's saying you don't have to, but if you want to remain gainfully employed and not lose your house, you have to. That's devious.
Yeah, this is like a witch trial, right?
Yep.
If you confess to witchcraft, you're burned at the stake. But in the meantime, we're going to dunk you in the water up and down until you drown. And if you drown, you were innocent. And if you floated, then you were a witch. And guess what? We're going to burn you anyways. So, I mean, it is a false choice. You're going to die either way if you're accused of witchcraft. And this is the same sort of choices. You have to submit to a vaccine or a test to prove you're immune so that the government would permit you to go back to work.
As they say in Vegas, Sheila, the fix is in.
No kidding. And again, everybody at home, like I said, the work behind the scenes on these access to information investigations continues, even as we're doing the work of fighting for civil liberties. And we comb through thousands upon thousands of pages. It used to be nearly exclusively my job. Now it falls on some of our writers in the office who are really great, who are really busy, but still taking the time to do this work because they think it's information that you need. If you want to support the cost of filing for these documents and the cost of going through these documents, because we do have a researcher who helps us, because when you get 1,000 pages back and you're looking for the one email, it helps to have another set of eyes on it. You can donate today at rebelinvestigates.com. Yes, thank you, Efron, for bringing that up. That's the place where you can give us a one-time donation or a monthly donation to help us to continue to ask the questions that really nobody else is asking. And I think they're questions that people want answers to. They're the kind of questions that you would think about around your dinner table, I think, is how I always try to craft those access to information questions.
And really no one else is doing it, right, Sheila?
No. Like, how would we know that a year ago today, Chrystia Freeland was looking for information about how to impose an immunopassport just to allow people to go back to work? Scary stuff. They were already full totalitarianism just like 3 weeks after they closed the border.
Oh, jeez.
2 or 3 waves ago of COVID. We should keep going here. Saved Wretch donated $4. I missed you guys for a few days and I'm behind on the news. I read that one. Yep. Thanks. Jensen donated $5. Ford doesn't listen to me. I don't think he listens to anybody who's not a public health officer. I've sent him tons of good info, including the roundtable from Ron DeSantis in Florida. He's also not listening to Dr. Carr of the No More Lockdown Coalition, nor using the already developed pandemic plan. No, he's not. He's looking up bad cherry cheesecake recipes. Mike Germain donated $5. Premier Ford's speech sounded a lot like Premier Kenny's speech last November. Yeah, and then Kenny locked us down 3 weeks later and closed all the restaurants. That was the apology speech. I'm so sorry I made some of you essential and non-essential. 3 weeks later, you're not essential, you're closed, you're fine, you're Walmart. How are things in Alberta nowadays? I do wish he was sincere for Ontarians, but yeah, no kidding. Those are crocodile tears. Laura donated $1.20. CBC leaked in reference to the measures enacted. I quote, did not come from the government's health or scientific advisors. It came out of nowhere. If his team didn't make these recommendations, then who is? Worth a read. And then you send us a link, which I'll click on after we're done the show. Nathaniel donated $10. Men only get one free pass in their life for crying, and that's when their mother dies. Anything else is unacceptable and just weird. Also, your firstborn child, you're allowed to have one of your eyes slightly well up, but if that tear breaks out of the eye, I don't know. Get out of the delivery room. I don't want to see you.
Look at all these crying rules.
It's serious. But by the time your third kid is born, you just go have a smoke in the parking lot. You don't even need to be there. Red State donated $2.40. I wonder if martial law is coming to Canada on Friday. What do you mean coming to Canada? There are police checkpoints set up. You know, they've closed the parks. You can only shop at certain times. The police are demanding your papers if you're out on the street. Yeah. And, you know, you can only move around to go to work, maybe, if you can't work from home. How should martial law look if that's not it? Hearing rumblings online, but nothing concrete. C182OPR donated $4. The CCFA, the Canadian Constitution Foundation, has a free ebook, Know Your Rights During Ontario's Stay-at-Home Order. Send a few dollars while you're there. Yeah, they do good work there. Xanax donated $1.40. I never thought a day would come when people were so eager to get a needle in their arm that weren't crackheads. But look at the Novikov vax lineups like it was the new iPhone release line. I don't know. In Alberta, they've got a lot of unused vaccination appointments, but I think it's because we mostly have access to the AstraZeneca one right now because we were vaccinating at a rate faster than the inept federal government could get the vaccines delivered to us. So we ended up with the AstraZeneca one. That was all that was left. So I think a lot of those vaccine appointments are going unused. And get the vaccine, don't get the vaccine. I just don't like the coercion.
Yep.
And I think that's it. We are 2 minutes over.
Well, you know what? That was a fast show, and maybe what we can do, Sheila, as we sign off, I had a really interesting little encounter at the Ontario rest stops.
Yes.
I know we have to go, so maybe we can, like Ezra likes to play a cute dog video at the end of his live streams. I'll just play this video, and it's basically folks that at the Ontario en route rest stops, the word mother is now verboten, even though the CEO of En route is a woman herself, and one of her most recent press releases was lauding International Women's Day. But a woman who's a mother, well, that's verboten. I guess it's offensive to, well, the video will tell the tale. So I'm going to sign out off on behalf of Ephraim behind the board, doing excellent work. Of course, the She-Devil in Northern Alberta. I'm David Menzies, and a special thank you to all the Super Chatters. We really depend on your money now more than ever. So thank you for your continued generosity. And we'll leave you with this latest slice of insanity along the 401 in Ontario. David Menzies for Rebel News here at the en route rest stop just outside of Trenton, Ontario. And folks, I just pulled in to, get some refreshments, and I couldn't help but notice this parking spot. As you can see, it is reserved parking for expectant parents and parents with infants. And, the first thing that struck me was, expectant parent? Don't they mean expectant mothers, expectant females? The last I looked, I don't think the male of the species is giving birth, at least not yet. And the second thing I noticed is it's actually, as you can see, it's a sticker. It is covering up something. What could it be? Well, let's peel it back. Yep, just as I thought. Mothers. So at Ontario en route truck stops and rest stops, mothers is now language verboten as a descriptor for those people, i.e. females, who are giving birth. You got that, folks? Because we don't want to discriminate against those men, I suppose, that identify as pregnant women, do we? Oh my goodness. You know what, folks? I really got some sickness coming on. I sure hope it's not morning sickness. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, have you heard the news? YouTube has completely demonetized us. Yeah, 100%. Well, we're not bending the knee to big tech. If you can, please go to afteryoutube.com. That's afteryoutube.com, and find out alternative ways in which you can follow and support Rebel News.